Let's start again. Thank you so much, Hogarth, for making time for us. Our fans,
Pleasure.
people who know you, they love you. And really, because I think Hogarth is one of the most gifted psychic healers in the world. He's a natural coach. He is an author. He is very artistic, but what I think he's also good at is he is obsessed about Vedic astrology and archetypes. And the way that he approaches astrology is very personal. I mean, literally, you know this. You could go to 20 astrologers, 20 tarot readers, all of them are different. What I love about Hogarth is that despite the worst of the worst being presented in your stars or in our collective stars, he will always see the, what is it? The great, what is it? The silver lining. He always sees the silver lining and lets us focus on the silver lining. And what's going on right now is like there's so much going on that that could get you either in a I don't want to see it mode. Maybe if I don't see it, it will go away. But actually, our lives, our businesses, our economies, the global structures, the systems that we are used to, they're actually really changing dramatically. And I really would love Hogarth to share with us, what do you see is going on, and how do you see how we as individuals can participate in this time of change without us falling into despair, without us thinking that, oh, there's nothing that I actually can do. So I know that you gave us 4 things that we want to focus on. And one of them was something that you actually came up with. And I'm a Jungian, I was trained as a Jungian analyst for many years. And I really sort of didn't want to talk about the dark night of the soul, but you were the one that came up with global dark night of the soul. So these were your words, not my words. And when you said it, I really resonated with it, because just a few days before, I was like watching the news, and it sort of like brought really dread in my heart, and a heaviness, if you know what I mean. And my partner says, Angelique, you're so psychic, you just absorb everything. And I think a lot of us are that way. So probably the audience that is here, even before things happen, we're starting to feel things in the ether.
Yes.
So can you talk to us about the first topic, which is what's going on with the global dark night of the soul? What is the meaning of it?
Yes. What's the meaning of it? So first of all, thanks so much, Angelique, for having me on. It's always a pleasure. And yes, it took a little while to get you over to the Vedic astrology side, but of course, I can see you're a passionate proponent of it. And of course, Western astrology still works. Of course, it still works, but Vedic really does talk about those kind of deeper topics, doesn't it? And if we just look at the world, and if we just have a think, and we're all looking here, and we're like, what is going on? Yeah, what is going on? Because like you said, a lot of people watching this recording, either now or later on, will be sensitive people or natural empaths. And what is it that we do? We absorb that, like the empaths have a stronger connection to the collective unconscious. It just means it's almost like maybe some people tune in and out, but empaths have a sort of like an umbilical cord, shall we say, to the collective unconscious. And that, of course, means that we can often get downloads, perceptions, projections of the future. We can often feel our emotional states can sometimes feel topsy-turvy. Yeah.
Even when there's just a full moon, we already have.
Oh my goodness!
It.
Yeah, that one. I mean, I'm glad it's passed a bit now, and but I was struggling to get to sleep. Yeah, because
me too.
It was just a very intense energy, and obviously the more astrological work I do, the more sensitive I become to the planets. So now I'm just like, oh my goodness, each full moon I need to look out. But that was a particularly big one. So really, when we look at empaths and people who have this psychic sensitivity, this subconscious sensitivity. When we're not sure what's going on, the way it can manifest is a lot of conflicted emotions within ourselves. And sometimes it's hard for empaths to know what's their genuine feeling and what's the feeling of the collective. Yeah. We all know this one. So for anyone watching and those watching later, if you've been feeling a bit cray, you know, cra or whatever, you're just like,
for like 2 years.
Exactly, like what is going on? Then a lot of that can be just the empaths tapping in. It's just the empaths just really just tuning in to what is going on in the collective, and so that's a big part of it as well. But really, the main thing is that Pluto recently changed signs. Yeah, Pluto. Yeah,
our friend.
Yes, our
You
friend
know,
Pluto.
I remember your
scary friend.
T-shirt. I remember the T-shirt with Pluto the cat shooting
Yes.
energy to the world and everybody running.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was actually wearing that T-shirt yesterday when I was with clients yesterday. But yes, Pluto is like that, and really, this is why so I should explain this. When a planet changes signs, particularly when the slower planets change signs. So when we think of, well, even Mars, actually, Mars is still quite fast moving planet. He spends about 2 months in each sign. But when we get to Jupiter, yeah, which spends approximately 1 year in each sign, so we'll be talking about that. When we talk about Saturn, who spends approximately 2.5 years in each sign. And then when we start going into the outer planets, they take longer and longer. Now, depending on, because Pluto has an elliptic, slightly wobbly progression around the sun, it takes Pluto 248 years to make one revolution.
My God.
One revolution. So most of everyone here, you've heard about the Saturn return, haven't you, Angelique?
Yes.
So we all know about
crisis when you're 30 or 29.
Yeah, exactly. Because it takes Saturn approximately about 29 years to go around the Zodiac. So we tend to feel that energy coming when we're 28, definitely when we're 29 and 30. And it is said that we are not truly adults until we've had our first Saturn return. Yeah, up until that point, we're still children. And really, it makes sense. So when a Pluto return comes round, it's like a Saturn return with coming with a nuclear power station on the back of it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So exciting. But so basically, which planet was Pluto in, and which Pluto is it going into now? And because all these, because I've been studying archetypes of the planets for a long time, and they're so different, each one of them.
Absolutely. So if we take the archetype of Pluto, which you know very well and you've studied, so the archetype of Pluto is, I call him the Alpha Omega planet. So he is all endings and all beginnings, in the sense of he can represent the darkest light, the darkest of what humanity is capable of, but can also represent the highest light as well. So Pluto really is the planet of saints and sinners. Yeah.
Demons and gods.
Say again.
Demons and gods.
Yeah, demons and gods, demons, saints and sinners, because he's so extreme. Pluto is the most extreme out of all of the planets. But his main motto is metamorphosis, change or die. So he represents the dark night of the soul, where we have these moments where we need to go into the underworld of Hades, which is the original name for Pluto by the Greeks.
There we are raped, in Hades, our virginity is taken away against our will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there can
it's
be
like,
that element there. Yeah, it's
yeah,
the story of Persephone. Yeah, the
absolutely.
story of Persephone.
I can tell you that because in the Jungian school we had to study masculine transfer, the masculine hero's journey and the feminine hero's journey. And as a woman, oh my God, I had to read so much about Hades. You cannot tell me, and it's not light because actually, when you
No,
look at it, it's a very difficult way of women transforming and having to face their shadow, their negative masculine shadow, positive masculine shadow, leaving the mother behind, becoming a woman on its own. But literally, this is what's going on now with the collective psyche. It's like leaving the world
absolutely,
of innocence, leaving the world of, I thought it was like this, but look at what is this? How is this possible? I don't
absolutely.
want to look at this, but this is happening and I can't escape.
Yeah, yeah, because what's happening here is as well, we also need to understand, and this is really interesting, which is that the irony is it's Pluto is going to birth the full return of the sacred feminine. How about that?
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because now when we know now we know there's dark things there, and of course, you know, when I have consultations with my clients, these, shall we say, these themes of Persephone come up, yeah, a
Yeah.
lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, because I do this planetary work and the archetypal work, we can understand what's going on, and we can see when maybe where certain things are activated in a person's chart. But the whole goal, of course, is to come through the other side. And what happens is when we go through these platonic transformations, and we essentially leave, we kind of face our demons and leave them behind, we come out the other side empowered. Yeah, because Pluto is the planet of power, profound power of all kinds. And really, like, his energy, we need to remember when Pluto was discovered in 1930, this was the time of what? The atomic bomb. Yeah, we were dealing with what? Fascism. Yeah, we were dealing with, the mafia was rampant in the United States, and we were dealing with dictatorships as well. Yeah, and if we look, we see there's that flavor sort of like kind of coming back a little bit.
A little bit.
Well, yeah, quite a lot actually, quite a
You're
lot.
being very subtle
Oh,
and
indeed,
diplomatic.
indeed. So one of the things is that Pluto was for many years in the sign of sidereal Sagittarius. Now, as we know, I do the sidereal placements, but this is very relevant. And Pluto moved into Capricorn on the first, I mean, he dipped in, but he moved in properly on around about the 1st of January, yeah, 2021. And I, on my channel, I said to people, right, we know, because I do a lot of stuff about the United States, and
Yeah.
basically Pluto went into the USA's second house. Yeah, second house. And I'll just quickly, let's do a little bit of astrology together. If I just show you here. And we're going to talk a little bit about the US and China as well, and their futures and what things that can happen. If we look here, the second house, what does this deal with? It deals with the face, the neck, the teeth, the voice, early childhood, food and diet, education, money, speech, singing, vision, the right eye in particular, and it deals with self values and family values. Yeah. What's one of the big things that's been happening in the USA over COVID is what? Food banks. Yeah. Food insecurity, money insecurity, family value, the values of the United States are what being examined at the moment, aren't they? What does America stand for? Look at all this shadow. Have you noticed all this shadow that's been coming up? George Floyd, the scandals, with Matt Gates, and what's going on with the Russia investigation. Do you see? It's all of this dark night of the soul type of stuff, because Pluto like a planet. I say it's like your neighbor's cat. It's like waking up in the morning and your neighbor's cat has dropped a dead rat on your bed. And you're like, oh,
Why is it in my bed? I didn't deserve this.
what's this all about? And it's all maggoty and horrible. And it's just like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So what we see collectively, have you noticed around the world, particularly in connection with this coronavirus as well, where, and if we think when it started to become really serious was when January, February 2020, we started to become aware of it. It actually really, the bigger effects of it would have been November 2019. Yeah. That's what the Vedic astrologers were talking about, because we were looking at the movements of Mars. But not to get distracted, to go back to Pluto. So Pluto has recently changed signs. When a planet changes signs, that's when it has its most dramatic effects. So simultaneously, Saturn, planet of governments, planet of lockdown, also went into sidereal Capricorn in January 2020. Now, what's Capricorn? Capricorn represents the natural 10th house, yeah, because it's the 10th sign of the Zodiac. But Capricorn also represents governments and organizations of all kind, infrastructure, systems, distribution systems, because also as well, Saturn rules the sign of Aquarius, which is known as the sign of other people's children. So it's distribution systems, transport, it's international. And what happened? We went into what? Lockdown, yeah? Because Saturn is very powerful. A planet is always very powerful in its own sign. So Saturn is in sidereal Capricorn and will then move to sidereal Aquarius. Now that means that really the totality of that is a 5-year cycle. Yeah, 5 years. We've had 1 year already. So it shows over the next 4 years, we're going to have these dramatic restructurings. And then Pluto is bringing its energy there as well. So it's almost like lockdowns, restructurings, dark nights of the soul, yeah? Revelations, surprises, shock surprises, sleaze, yeah? Pluto deals a lot with sleaze. So when we look around the world, do you see as a theme, it just seems to be one thing after another. There's something happening here, something happening there. We also have Neptune, which also can deal a lot with pandemics and disease, in a part of the sky that deals with passing away, yes, which is called the Bhadrapadas. So if we think of Purva Bhadrapada and Uttara Bhadrapada, so globally we're having to deal with this dark night of the soul. If we look as well what's happening in India, yeah, look at that there. But it also means, on the positive, it also means something new and profound is being born, yeah? We're going through a birthing process, and Pluto is bringing all of that up. Sorry,
Can you explain the birthing process? Because definitely all of us have felt that we had a rat next to our pillow.
Yeah.
And we didn't choose the rat. We didn't put it on our vision board. That rat just appeared. Yeah, all of us. And for some, it has meant breakup of relationships, or, you know, the industry completely, yeah, going bankrupt in many countries. You know, it goes from personal to economy to basically even our faith in life. So
Absolutely.
as this is going on, and it feels like always like governments is there, it's over there. Yeah, we just had elections in Holland. Like,
Oh, did you?
I do not even want to tell you the type of news that was around what is really going on with the elections. I mean, I don't know what to believe anymore. Yeah, but there are a few things that, you know, where we used to trust government, the trust is way less right now.
Yeah.
Literally, if you look at what's going on, I would look at sometimes at these parliaments where people would yell and shout at each other, and I would say, oh, that's barbaric. literally this going on right now in Holland, where we are really, really quite rational. Police forces are being super brutal to kids
Really?
that are partying.
Really?
Yeah, this is really so weird for somebody like me. I mean, my ancestors come from China. We're used to being shot in China for hardly anything. But in Holland, we're not used to that. So in terms of what's going on, how can we deal with this thing being birthed and us looking at governments and not trusting them and saying,
Mm.
I'm not sure I'm part of this. And how can I be part of this without being, without being beaten up by the police? Because this is really sort of what's going on.
Yes. Wow. Well, first of all, I'm really surprised to hear that, especially coming from Holland. Yeah. If Holland is having these things, then it's like world
Yes,
wake up,
that
because
is completely true.
that is really surprising for me, because of course it was wonderful visiting you last year. I managed to visit Angelique last year in this tiny window, wasn't it? This tiny window
When you could travel.
where we could move a little bit, and it was like, right, that's it. And the second we left, lockdown started again. So okay, so how can we navigate that? The first thing that people can do is just acknowledge the reality and understand that we are going through a birthing process, and that Pluto is doing his excavation job. Because really, Pluto represents the 8th house on his own. Yeah, so he's like the sewer worker. Yeah, he works in the sewers. So before we can put on our crown of light, yeah, it's buried deep down somewhere in the sewers, and you've got to find it and get all the muck off and then take it gradually back to ground. So understand that everything we're seeing in the news, also as well, the 8th house can also deal with conspiracy theories as well. We also have Ketu, the south node of the moon, that is currently in sidereal Scorpio. So if I go back,
Scorpio, my other favorite planet.
Angelique, top
Oh
5
my,
planets in Scorpio.
yeah. I never thought I had so much Scorpio in me. Never in my life. In Western astrology, I don't even have one water planet, and in Vedic, I have 5 water planets. Which is really
Yes. So if we look here, this is sidereal Scorpio, which is called Vrishchika, actually. And anyone that's born on November 15th to December 14th, their sun sign is Scorpio. Yeah. Because everything is back by 24 degrees. So first of all, we just, all the empaths, everyone watching this video, we just need to understand the whole world is going through a dark night of the soul in some shape or form. Yeah, the whole world. And we've seen, it's true, isn't it? The whole world has had to reassess things, travel, etc., etc. So understand that. But also as well, we also need to understand there's a certain inescapable quality to Pluto as well, because Pluto's motto is transform or die. Yeah. Grim. Yeah. Grim stuff. With Saturn, you can delay Saturn a little bit, and it just means each time he comes back, the stick he carries gets bigger and bigger. Yeah. Until eventually, there's nothing you can do.
It's a pyramid in your house.
Absolutely. So he carries a stick. But what Pluto carries are hand grenades. Yeah. So it's either the lightsaber, you either get the lightsaber, or it's the hand grenade. Yeah. So when we try and resist this energy too much, what Pluto does is basically throw a hand grenade through the window and just blows everything up. Yeah.
It's so funny the metaphors you use, because when we were doing this interview about Pluto transform or die, I was going through this huge like my personal dark night of the soul. Like you and I both have the Healy. I literally had aura readings that were black, yeah. And I was so depressed, and it didn't matter how much work I was doing. I had to go through that, real depression, facing the part of me that my ego doesn't like, the part of me that is like the mother of Persephone, that lost her daughter. So it was really interesting to actually see that the emotions that come up and the facing the parts of you that you don't recognize, that you don't even
Yes.
want to put on media. You never want to talk about it, right? But I feel I see so many people getting into accidents, people that
Yeah.
are, getting into accidents, or other people getting sick, and really people being faced with either death or destruction in some way or form. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
sometimes not even to do with government, sometimes not
Yeah.
even to do with the virus. It just happens around them. I can see it all over.
Yeah. And that's why, and this is why I love having these discussions with you and others, and sharing this knowledge, because it just helps people understand why things are just so intense at the moment. Intensity, intensity, intensity. And people, I can understand people feeling like exhausted, aren't they? Because they're like, when will this end? It just feels like one thing after the other.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like what Pluto's, and there is hope, don't worry, there is hope, but there, Pluto does have a relentless energy to it, because we need to understand Pluto represents the eighth house on his own. It's an eighth house experience. And eighth house, of course, as everyone knows, I call the house of sex, death, and rock and roll. Yeah. This is where everything happens. So on the collective, if we just look here, I read for you the eighth house, so we can understand this is what's happening globally for everyone. Yeah. So what does it deal with? The bodily part, it actually deals with the genitals, actually the private parts in terms of the physical body. But what does the eighth house deal with? It deals with traumas. Yeah. Deals with transformation, wills. Think of how many people have passed because of COVID. Yeah. A lot of people will be dealing with what? Wills. Yeah. Wills. Deals with surrender, life insurance, addictions. Yeah. That's another big theme that's been coming up for people. Deals with psychology, deals with disgrace. Yeah. What are we seeing? Scandals. Yeah. Lots of scandals coming up. Scandals in what? Government, Capricorn.
Big
Deals with
big companies.
exactly big companies, organizations. Capricorn represents those things. You know, yeah, like we said, big government, big pharma, groups, organizations of it's the pyramid. Yeah, anything that is an institution that's built up over time, and it deals with pressure. So we've got the themes of disgrace, but we've also got metaphysics. Look how many people are getting into tarot, astrology, Reiki, Kundalini, all of these things. Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's waking up as well. It also deals with bankruptcy. You were talking about bankruptcy. Also deals with inheritance, like I said, wills, inheritance. It deals with taxes. I've been talking to people who are telling me that the whole tax regimes are being changed in their countries, and sometimes not, for their favor.
Mhm.
Also deals with money from others, astrology, the life force, and it also deals with shamans. So here, on one hand, we can imagine there's a hand grenade. Yeah. If I just hold my mouse, there's a hand grenade. And then on the other hand, we also have the lightsaber.
Mm.
Yeah. Which is, and we have to make this choice. Are we going to try and stick with the old things that are no longer working? Because this is what Pluto does. Pluto wants to get rid of anything that doesn't work. Yeah. And he's ruthless with it. So
Is it like a
we,
divine justice or a divine balancing power? How would we see Pluto? Because the way that when Pluto arrives in our life, we're never happy. We're always like, why me? Why can't Pluto just sort off? But
Mhm.
actually, if you explain it as it's a cleansing, it's a healing, a
Yeah,
healing messenger
yeah,
to make you either face yourself or to leave certain things, but definitely for us to see more clearly what is our part in it and how can we transform. Maybe that is how we then can, be less in the, oh, I don't like Pluto, but actually, wow, thank you, Pluto. It's fucking hard. Sorry for the swearing, but it is really, really, it was necessary.
Yeah, Pluto is like a giant purge, and it's just, and what he does is, because you know, and if you think, and here again it shows the energy in government. Do you remember when it was the tagline, "Drain the swamp"? Yeah, that's what Pluto does. Pluto really comes in and he will show you all of the creatures that are crawling around there at the bottom, and he's going to go, look at that. We need to throw some bleach on that. Yeah, we need to dig some of these things out, because he shows all the critters and the swamp monsters and all of that kind of stuff. And because he's changed sign and he has now gone into government, sidereal Capricorn, we're now seeing, or if we think of what all of the stuff that's coming up over the Trump administration. Yeah, because before Pluto was in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius deals with law and government as well. Yeah, but politics in particular. Yeah, so everyone was like, drain the swamp, but there was still a lot of murkiness going on. Now it's in sidereal Capricorn. It's really starting to come up, and this is actual Pluto's job. What Pluto does is, unlike Saturn, that will maybe give you some chances, yeah, Saturn will tap you on the wrist or whatever, and then it gets, you know, bigger and bigger, and then we have to change. Pluto doesn't even really give you the chance. What he does is he comes in and he just starts destroying stuff straight away, and you're like, what's going on? No warning, he just busts open the door, that's it, throws the cold water on you and starts wrecking the place. Yeah. So it's like, oh my, so Pluto feels very much like an ambush. Yeah. Many people have felt ambushed by life, ambushed by the virus, ambushed by these very difficult circumstances that have come up, ambushed with suddenly realizing after being in forced confinement with their partners that maybe this isn't the right person for me. Yeah. Or being ambushed, being forced in confinement, going, actually, you know what? This person is right for me. You know, people have been also seeing the light side as well, but it's not easy to face shadow, is it? But this is where we need to take hold of the lightsaber. Because when we actually embrace, the thing to do is, we can't avoid, we can't avoid Pluto. Yeah. When he's doing his stuff, we need to actually embrace and start doing the inner work, yeah, which is of course the stuff that you're doing. So this is the time where we have to look within ourselves and see if there's any contradictions there. We need to tell ourselves the truth and be ruthless with telling ourselves the truth.
So let me give you an example. So for instance, we see a lot of businesses on the verge of bankruptcy. Yeah. And me as a person that really believes in entrepreneurship, you know, I have seen so many businesses struggle, but also a lot of self-employed people. And, you know, it feels to me that these people have been ambushed. A lot of companies have been ambushed. A lot of industries have been imposed with lots of regulations and restrictions that don't make sense. Even people going into court, you know, suing, you know, local government because of blah, 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 doesn't seem to be working. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. How can an entrepreneur whose business is, let's say, being confronted with, no, you are too risky, we don't want you to open up. How can they do the inner work in terms of what's going on?
Well, what's happening now, and this is something that I feel I've been able to make a contribution to, because as you know, I work a lot with the archetypes. There's, you know, that's, you know, after those consultations, you know, archetypal blueprint. And what is this? What I'm seeing is we're entering a new age of energy. Remember, Pluto is energy. The vibration of the earth is going up. Yeah, Gaia is wanting to transform ourselves. Pluto also represents, like with Saturn, raw nature in its pure form. Yeah, Pluto represents that direct and visceral connection with the earth and with nature as well. Because remember, Hades lived what? Underground. Demeter lost her daughter, but what was she? The earth goddess. Yeah. Demeter or Ceres, was the earth goddess. So here we're talking about foundations. Yeah. Foundations. And what we need to understand is what Pluto is doing is he is shaking up every system on earth, everyone's business, government, the whole lot, so that we can pay attention to what? The climate crisis. Yeah. Because if we don't change, we're going to what? Die. Yeah. We, humanity, are going to disappear if we don't change. So Pluto is coming here and he's in the sign of systems, and he is tearing up all of the systems. Yeah. And we're all like, oh my goodness. So on one level, it's like, oh gosh, this is terrible. But what this means is that every business, we're going to have to reorient. It's like, for example, if we sell packaging or products or whatever, we need to look at the provenance of those products. We need to make sure that it's helping Gaia. Yeah, because really Demeter is it's also Persephone. It's really, there's three characters: Persephone, Demeter, and Hades. Yeah, this is really what Pluto is about. So Demeter is the earth goddess. Yeah, she represents Gaia. So we are now in this stage where we are in a transform or die scenario when it comes to the environment. Also, as well, it's no longer just about spreadsheets and Excel spreadsheets. Yeah. Being a company in the future is now about being at the right vibration. Yeah. It's not just about my income and outgoings and my tax and blah, blah, blah. Am I at the right vibration for the energy that's being birthed in? So now when people, business advisors now, are going to have to incorporate 8th house methods as a part of business consultation and structure. Because remember, the 8th house also deals with investments, yeah, other people's money. So, for example, and I'm not just saying this because, because I'm a practitioner, but I can see in the future that companies are actually going to have archetypal assessments as well about how they are archetypally affecting the earth, their clients, how money as energy is moving in their company, where they invest, what they do. It's all has to be at this level now, because the layer below, Pluto is destroying that now. He's destroying the old way of doing things. Yeah, he's like, you know what? This doesn't work, because if we carry on in this way, then what's going to happen? No more planet Earth, and there's no business. There's no business if we're having 10, 15, 20 tropical storms that just wiping out whole cities, or tornadoes just ripping through, or crops failing. Yeah.
Well, are you saying in a way that, for instance, let's say some industries that have really been hit hard by COVID, for instance, tourism, airplane, hospitality, that actually, although it seems we can blame COVID or we blame governments that are imposing this, is actually a bigger movement going on. And that is these governments or COVID or all these rules and regulations are a byproduct of Pluto coming in and showing up as these restrictions, but actually we all have to reinvent the ways that we are going to do business, either in tourism, either in agriculture, either in global jet setting around the world in planes, etc.
Yeah, all of it.
Even product packaging, etc.
Yeah, all of it. It has to be. What Pluto is doing is throwing all the cards up in the air and saying this has to be restructured and rethought. Because what is it that we do as human beings? Yeah, the second the pressure's off, we want to go back to our old ways, don't we? We're creatures of habit. Yeah, we want to go back to how things were. A lot of people say, oh, I want things to go back to normal, back to normal, back to normal, back to normal. Well, we also need to understand that normal is also what's taken us to this point of almost destroying the earth. Yeah. So what Pluto is doing is throwing hand grenades at old structures that need to die and just be removed. Yeah, this is why we're seeing so much upheaval in the governments, and they're trying to keep certain. I mean, the obvious one, of course, you know, with the USA and things going on in Russia, you know, what's emerging there, and then you see the far right, yeah, who is trying to what? You've got people who are trying to say that insurrection didn't happen, yeah, stuff like that, when we all saw it, yeah, with our own eyes.
But
So you see,
to be honest, Hogarth, we don't know what's being presented to us in media. There's a lot
well,
of evidence as well that a lot of things have been staged. So anything that we hear,
mhm,
literally, you can look at both camps and we don't know what's true.
absolutely. I mean, because the thing is, the point is that it's all being exploded. That's what I'm saying. That's why I say Pluto is like a hand grenade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing? It's been what? Explosive events.
So this is being presented to you on mainstream media, and then you hear this, and then you think, oh my gosh, I've been believing this for the whole of my life, and this is now telling me this is what's going on. What is actually going on? What
Right.
are the agendas of all the different
Well, the
parties?
thing is, what one has to remember is this, and this is why Vedic astrology is so important. Remember, I said Ketu is going through sidereal Scorpio right now,
Mhm.
but part of Scorpio, sometimes what the shadow of Scorpio can be is conspiracy theories. Yeah, everyone is putting out, and also as well in the media as well. Do you see? It's just story after story after story. This is true. No, that's a lie. This is true. No, that's a lie. Yeah. So we've reached this point where we are not sure what is true anymore. Yeah.
But what we
And
do see is when what has been seen as a conspiracy theory a year ago is now being implemented as a rule, or being implemented maybe next year as a rule. So
right.
from that perspective, I am more in the camp of we're not being told everything.
No, no, we're not. And what's happening is this. Pluto, so we need to go back to the story of Kronos. Yeah, let's go way
Yeah,
back, because then this tells us what is likely to happen.
yeah.
Now, Kronos was planet Saturn. Yeah, that's who we call Saturn. That's Kronos, the god of the harvest. Now, he had a prophecy said to him that one of his children would overthrow him. Yeah, and he would lose his power. So what he started to do was eat his children. Yeah, start to eat his children. When they were born, when Rhea, his wife, gave birth, he would eat them. Yeah, terrible. And finally, she gave birth to Jupiter. Yeah, and instead of offering over the child, what she did was she got some rocks and wrapped that in swaddling, and he ate that. So he's like, right, there we are. That's it. That's out of the way. And then Rhea gave her son, I think, to some nymphs or something like that, but these deities that basically looked after him on Mount Olympus. And then of course he waged his own war and overthrew his father. Yeah, so this shows the relationship between Jupiter and Saturn. Saturn represents restrictions and the old, the traditions. Yeah, Jupiter can represent the youthful energy and the new, yeah, the new ideas that are trying to be birthed. So when Saturn and Jupiter come together, like they did on the 20th of December, 21st of December, 2020,
Mhm.
that set off a whole new cycle in government, yeah, because it didn't happen in Aquarius, it happened in sidereal Capricorn. So we see all of this new stuff in regards to what the government, new rules and regulations, lockdown, yeah, all of that stuff. But we also see that there's truth busting out about the systems as well. But there is strange, I mean, there is very, very strange stuff going on right now, particularly in America, but also around the world. So now we cannot be sure of what is true and what is fiction, because Pluto deals with what? The foundation. yeah, dark night of the soul, everything that's underground. So what, the ground is shaking beneath everyone's feet. All of the structures are being tested, yeah. But at some point, particularly as Jupiter continues to move through Aquarius and stuff like that, you know, there's going to be more truth that will come out. But eventually it's going to be a truth that no one can deny, and then we'll all be able to agree on something. Yeah. So we're getting there. Yeah, we're getting
You'll be like,
there.
okay, maybe these media outlets are a little bit biased or have been paid by certain organizations, and others have been serving the truth, which is maybe why they have been sued, deplatformed, etc., etc. To be honest,
Yeah.
right? Why would you deplatform anything if there wasn't something that you would want to hide? So it's basically, it's like so much wants to come out, and so much
Mhm.
is being done to actually try and repress it. That's also happening.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that what we have to do, though, we have to be careful, because what is happening now is that the whole world and his wife literally can pass their comment on whatever media platform. And there are a lot of people that like sowing division and lies, yeah? Because they're what? Anarchists or, you know, whatever. So the thing is that the only way really to get to the truth, we have to go within and do our own inner work and slay our own demons, so that we're not putting mistruths outside there as well. Yeah, because everyone's dabbling. If we think about it, everyone's got an opinion now. Think of social media. There are millions upon millions upon millions of voices in the world, all saying pretty much whatever they want. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. But we need to also understand that there are people who may not have the best agendas, who are having their own internal shadow programs that are not examined. So really, actually, we need to go into the heart chakra, yeah, and find the truth that lies within there, because of course, this is where love resides. The heart chakra is halfway between the lower and the upper chakras. And we also need to, if we focus on what is universally good, not only for ourselves, but for everyone else, then a lot of this, what's true, what's not true, will start to dissipate, yeah? Because there's too many people that are throwing dark things into the mix. And now everyone is confused, yeah? Because yes, there are some aspects where the government is trying to do some shady stuff in terms of control, but at the same time, there are some certain rules and regulations that are necessary as well. Because when we look, yeah, if we look, say for example, if we look at India and the terrible time that those people are having there, we can't say that those people are not dying. They are. So many people are dying that they've got funeral pyres in the street. That is true. Yeah, we can't deny that. That is true. That's happening. They've got like an infection rate which is sort of like 450,000 every day. That figure actually isn't true. Probably it's probably much higher than that. So do you see? There's so many different things going on, and really, the way I see this is that one of the best ways to control is confusion. Yeah, confusion. Confuse people, because Pluto does deal with hidden power. Yeah, you've got public power, but Pluto also deals with hidden power as well. If you think of the word, for example, if you think of what the plutocracy, yeah, it's got Pluto in there. Yeah, so there are certain powers that have a vested interest in the collective confusion of the world. But it doesn't mean that everything that we hear is true or untrue. Yeah, it's about discernment, and it's also about self-discipline. It's also about self-discipline, because we are all having to take personal responsibility for our own transformation, because ultimately the one that we have to save is the earth. Yeah, we need to remember Hades lived what? Underground. Demeter, earth goddess. Persephone spends half the year underground and half the year above. So really, when we actually filtrate all of this through, the most important thing is the truth about our global situation as global humanity, and what are we going to do to save the earth. So we need to change our habits, and we're sort of doing it already. So for example, the next car people buy an electric one if you can. No, plenty of sexy electric cars. You know, eat a little bit less red meat, and or improve the quality of the meat that you eat. Eat a bit more chicken, a bit more fish. Try and produce less plastic. You know, all of these things that we know about, but they're really, really important. But what happens is when we do inner healing, we actually start to heal the collective unconscious. Yeah. So the more we find our light and bring that out, yeah, and we start to go towards the crown chakra, yeah, which is one of the ultimate elevations of Pluto, we actually start to heal people around us. And we just have to take what we say with a pinch of salt, but don't invest too much emotion in it either. Yeah. Because the emotions are very powerful. When we spend a lot of time angry or frustrated or, oh, what's this theory, what's that theory and stuff, we can actually get away from that higher truth, which is that all of us as human beings, we need to, our house is on fire, yeah? The house is on fire. We're arguing about various different things, and like, you know, the truth is that the polar ice caps are melting, you know, we need to sort some stuff out.
So let's go back to this this example of an entrepreneur needs to reinvent the business because of whatever's going on. Instead of going into victimhood and say, oh, it's the governments, we see the governments and the regulations and the whole pandemic as a channel for this Plutonian cleansing energy that is bringing about ultimately changes that the whole collective needs, even though we don't want to. So in whatever shape or form we are being forced to transform, whether it's in our industries or whether or not we blame the governments or some hidden governments or deep state or whatever, all these different theories, ultimately all of the actors are actually channeling this Plutonian energy. Is this a right way to see what's really going on?
Yes.
And so then where are we heading? Is there light at the end of the tunnel? And in what time frame can we expect it if we do our inner work? Because everybody that listens to our channel is doing their inner work. I can assure you that, because they don't have patience to listen to us for an hour talking about this if they weren't doing their inner work.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we need to understand this is the beginning of a cycle, not the ending of a cycle. Yeah, because Pluto has only just changed signs. Yeah, and what this shows is over the next 2 decades, yeah, Pluto is going to be in Capricorn for about 20 years. Yeah. And if we think, oh my God, that's terrifying. No, actually, really what this is the transformation, getting rid of the muck. Yeah. Once we get rid of the muck, then those years are going to get better and better and better. Yeah. They're going to improve. Now, we're just at the start of getting rid of the muck. This is why you're seeing all this stuff coming up now. Yeah. And and trust me, there's going to be more scandals galore and all sorts of stuff kind of coming out. And we're really going to be getting there but if we're looking objectively, we can actually see the truth, really what the truth is that is emerging. Yeah. Where the sleaze is. Yeah. Follow the money. Yeah.
Even the economic crisis that's being basically, some Vedic astrologers saying something big is going to happen with monetary collapse,
Well,
etc.
What's going to happen is we're now in the times of profound transformation on planet Earth that is now inescapable for everyone. And what I say is really is about, in a weird way, it's kind of, rather than running from the pain, we have to lean into it. You know, when you have to pull off a scab. Yeah, you
That's
know,
another workshop that we need to lead. Oh my gosh.
We need to lean into it, because transformation, yes, is painful. The birthing process is painful, but it's worth it for what comes out on the other side. So if we think of this, for example, imagine all the companies, yeah, it's happening now, but they really started greening up things. So for example, say if you're a company that's selling plastic products, for example, yeah, all forms of plastic. What kind of future does that company have realistically? Yeah, if we're going to save the planet, not much. Yeah, but what if that same plastic company started making their plastics from biodegradable seaweed? Yeah, that company does have a future. Yeah, because we all need plastic. It's true, we all need plastics. Plastics are immensely useful. But we need to change the formula, because remember, what is Pluto? Pluto is what? Alchemy. Yeah. Changing the formula. Yeah. Transforming. We're actually going through the process of a collective alchemy. Tourism and stuff like that, of course, it will come back eventually, but we can't be flying willy-nilly like we did before. Yeah. There needs to be a tax on that. Yeah. I'm not talking about people who fly, you know, and they go to Spain on a holiday, or they visit some lake and it's once a year. Yeah. I'm not talking about people like that. There's plenty of people that take many flights, you know, 50, 60, 70 flights a year. Okay. If you're going to do
Sometimes
that.
for business, and they don't even enjoy it, because
Right.
business says, no, you need to be at this meeting, and they're forced to be living out away from their families, not even having a life. You know, my partner was one of them,
Right.
living like
Exactly.
5 days a week in planes and
Exactly.
whatever.
You spend, and what happens is you spend all that time on planes, and guess what? They're actually now finding it's not good for your health. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
So COVID comes along, backed up with the powers of Saturn and Pluto to go what? Kaboom! Throw a big hand grenade in the airline industry. So now what do we do? This. I've never Zoomed so much in my whole life, and now I'm just used to it. At first, you remember, it was weird, it was difficult, you know, people weren't dressed properly, they didn't have their underpants on, you know, or the bra wasn't in the right place, or the kids were running around in the background, or the dog doing something. But what did that do? It humanized business, yeah, because suddenly we didn't have to be perfectly made up, you know, in our suits and, you know, blah, 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 all of that. All of a sudden, what? We didn't have to commute anymore, yeah, which is what? Saving the environment as well, much less cars. Now, obviously, people still drive, but you know what I mean. But now conferences are held by Zoom. I used to be a conference manager a lot of my time. That took up a lot of my time. Those were long days. I enjoyed the work, but all the people having to fly in and commute, and now it's done virtually. So you see, there's a transformation there. And people and companies that are embracing that transformation, understanding that what technology is the future, because we're going into what the age of Aquarius. So this is all these things, making sure that one is efficient, minimizing waste, having an electronic footprint, providing services so that people can meet on the online environment. When it comes to delivering things around the room, around the world, you know, we can look at our distribution system. Yeah, we can look at our distribution systems and along the way remove all of those toxic elements. One of the big fights, yeah, one of the reasons why this is such a difficult process is because there are certain people in power that don't want things to change, yeah? So they're sabotaging that elevation and that growth, yeah? Think of all of those companies that are still digging coal and blah, blah, blah. We don't need it. We have alternatives, but they've got vested interests, yeah? And that can also be part of the shadow of Pluto, plutocracy, yeah? It's what's good for me and my empire, yeah? There's a lot of kings and queens of empire that don't want the earth to go to clean energy, yeah, to save Gaia, because they're going to be out of pocket because they own power stations that run on coal. Yeah, and then they've got all of their various agendas and all the people that they fund and lobby. Yeah, so always, if you want the truth, follow the money.
Going back to this, there, collectively we've had a lot of power structures that are basically based on power of resources. Let's say money, let's say industry, let's say, being born in certain families, or, going to the right schools, being in the right fraternities and societies, etc. What does Vedic astrology see for us in terms of the evolution and the clearing of maybe a different way of looking at power? Because this is the title of our talk, transformation of power. If we look at power and we only attribute it to money and resources and basically certain shareholders and board of directors and regulations all intermingled, as we're now seeing very clearly, what is going to happen over these big transitions that are happening with planet Earth, according to the planets? Is that going to change? Are the power structures going to stay the same, just with different labels? Let's say from old energy to new energy, but still the same players around? Or is it actually going to be a, let's say, redistribution of wealth, like the way that I'm investigating in the crypto world, in the blockchain world, decentralized finance? I'm reading up on it, I'm studying up on it, I'm making money with it every day. Completely different and a threat to the existing powers. But what I see with the decentralized finance and the blockchain and the smart contracts, which is completely different technology, ruled by the masses, they're all technical geeks, but they're not any of them, many of them are not involved with institutions or institutionalized power. So what does Vedic astrology tell us about the power going back to the masses, and there being a much more, let's say, distribution of power in terms of what we vote for with money, that we're not restricted to, no, we have to use this. Oh, no, we don't have a choice because these are the only companies we can actually buy from, or these are the only currencies that we can buy in. So is there something that Vedic astrology is showing us about the transformation of power in that collective sense, and it not being in a pyramid structure where there's only a few there, like what, let's say the 1%, and the rest doesn't have it? And I mean, and I'm not talking about conspiracy theory, because anybody who's thinking, what is Angelique talking about, just go to YouTube and just listen to the macro economists and the people that are managing billions of funds, what they are saying about the economic reset.
Right. So so basically what's happening is just as I described. So there is a fundamental truth that we must recognize about being citizens of Earth. And being a citizen of Earth, there will always be power structures. Yeah, there will always be power structures. And if you were to get rid of, if there were no structures, you would have anarchy. Yeah. And the only way that you could get rid of structures would be to get rid of planet Saturn. Yeah. That's not going to happen, is it? Yeah. It's not going to happen. We can't get rid of planet Saturn. Yeah. Saturn it also deals with karma, fate, destiny, greatness. Yeah. So there will always be structures. There will always be some type of oligarchy. Yeah. Because when you think of it this, like, for example, to the average person on the street, someone who has perfected things like blockchain and cryptocurrency and stuff like that, they may as well be one of the elite as well, because it's so difficult to understand.
They are the elite right now.
Right.
These youngsters, these young traders, and these people, they're making lots of money, and they're free.
Of course.
They will never have a job. Yeah.
Precisely, but it's because they have the knowledge, the know-how, they've done the research. You know, it's not just like all power structures will disappear and everyone's going to be rich or whatever. That's not realistic. But what it shows is, what Pluto is showing is that the structure of power is changing.
Yeah.
It's like a baton. It is moving away from these fossil fuel type oligarchs, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's going to what? Aquarius, which is more what? Electronic. So there will be electronic oligarchs. Well, they already exist. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Facebook, Amazon, you know, they're already here. I was saying to people years ago, we have entered the age of the corporate superpower. Yeah. But what's happening now is that people are now recognizing their own power. And one of the biggest powers that people have is what they consume. Yeah. What you consume. No one, and I mean no one with any business sense, is going to sell you something you don't want. So if we want to change the world, we need to consume differently. And many people don't recognize that that is actually one of their biggest sources for power, for change. Yeah. If you go into your supermarket, this is why we see now now it's common to have an organic range, organic eggs, and it doesn't cost the earth anymore because so many more people are buying organic. Yeah. When we say to people, oh, we don't want to use plastics anymore, or where's the provenance coming from? Restaurants and all that kind of stuff, they start changing their menus. Yeah, because people want what? Sustainable fish. Yeah, they don't want fish that's full of plastic.
Yeah.
We don't often recognize that when it comes, because everyone's like, oh, big money, big power, blah, blah, blah. Yes, there is that. But that money is coming from selling us stuff. So when we buy differently, we can literally buy ourselves a different future. But in order to get to that place, we need to be conscious. We need to be consciously, like I decided that I would not buy a car, for example. I don't drive. Yeah. I don't drive, and I cycle. Now, of course, it's easier for me to do that because I live in London. Yeah. But think of how much less carbon I've put into the world by not having a car. They say Generation X now, you know what they're deciding to do? They're deciding they're not going to have children. Yeah. Profound changes. Think of that. The younger generation, because it's so stacked against them, yeah, because there's just generational inequality, shall we say, they decided, you know what, I'm not going to have kids. Why should I have kids if I can't live in a flat or a house?
Yeah, they
What's
can't
the
even
point?
afford it. They can't even get on the housing ladder. So
Right, they can't
how are you
afford
going to
it.
have kids? What type of future do you have? Yeah.
Right, exactly. So what does that mean? Yeah. So when we look at transform or die, if we've got millions of younger generation people who are deciding not to have children, what does that mean? Yeah, we don't have to be a rocket scientist to work that one out. It means extinction, doesn't it? Transform or die. So we need to transform these systems. And what will start to happen is, and this is what I hope will happen, as we progress more into the age of Aquarius, people will start going off grid. They're going to start creating their own communities. Yeah. And this is why there's a certain part of the global oligarchy that doesn't want people to have free energy. Yeah. Because once solar panels, and they are quite cheap, but imagine if each person has got their own solar panel,
Water,
their own wind turbine. Yeah. And they're getting their electricity from wave movement, yeah, and stuff like that. They don't need to buy into those old systems anymore. Imagine when everyone's driving an electric car. We've already been given a glimpse, haven't we, what it's like when lockdown showed us what it's like to live without pollution. Wow. That was a revelation, wasn't it? And all of a sudden, everyone's like, actually, I really like this. I would actually quite like to have an electronic car because my son or daughter is not going to be suffering with asthma so much anymore. Do you see? It's about recognizing within ourselves where the power truly lies. And a lot of it is how we consume. When we demand different products, we create new markets. And this is why I was saying, really, the business advisor of the future is going to be an electronic advisor, but also an energy advisor as well. What is the energetic blueprint of your company? Are you at the higher vibration where the world wants to go, or are you still trying to sell plastic to people? Yeah.
And having said that, you know, I mean, I am the type of person that literally loves my junk food. Yeah. My grandfather had a American diner, and as a little girl, I was making, you know, milkshakes and eating hamburgers. So for me, telling me that junk food is bad for me is like, no, but my association with junk food is love. Love for my grandfather, love for him
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, being a
Yeah.
migrant in South America. But right now, what is happening, you know, I'm a super junk food fan. I am allergic to it. So it feels like this transformation is like my body is saying, I don't
Oh,
want all of this stuff anymore. I mean, this is not even a hamburger, it's not even meat. It's not even what you think it is. So, and because of that, I have gone complete almost vegan. And now I'm seeing all this amazing vegan produce in the supermarkets. And like,
yeah.
and I'm following vegan chefs, and all the vegan chefs, gluten-free produce, they are now taking over the market. What's so interesting is a lot of my friends who are Dutch, they have Dutch genes. They are gluten intolerant, like how gluten and dairy intolerant. And you're thinking, but they're Dutch. They've been drinking milk for so long. They've been eating bread and cheese. It's like super Dutch. But all of us, it feels like even our bodily intolerances are showing us we have to change. And the produce in the supermarkets that we're going to choose are going to be not so much because we wanted to, but because our body just rejected it.
Yeah. Body
Yeah.
starts to reject it, because what's happening is, because remember as well, Pluto is energy. So Pluto is rejigging everyone's power systems. Yeah.
Yes.
Pluto is about what?
Energetic,
Power.
biochemical.
Absolutely. So what's happening is Pluto is coming into the sign of structure, Capricorn, at the same time that the Earth, or shall we say our solar system, is coming into a part of the galaxy that's got a lot of light and energy in it. Because in Vedic astrology, the sign of Aquarius is known as the sign of 1,000 healers. Yeah, because it's densely filled with stars, and it deals with healing complicated problems. Yeah, things that are difficult to heal, mental problems. Yeah, mental health problems. Look how much we're paying more attention to mental health, alcohol, drug, and addictions.
Mhm.
Also, as well, allergies, weird, strange allergies, strange, unusual cancers. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of this stuff. Yeah. Because what's happening is our energetic bodies are vibrating quicker.
Yeah.
And what it means is, it means we have to be more pure. The body, the physical body, has to be more pure, so it can handle that higher vibration. So when we actually keep like when we keep our vibrate, like for example, I still eat meats. Yeah, I eat very little red meat these days, but I eat chicken and fish and whatever. But since lockdown, my consumption of fruit and vegetables has zoomed up. I eat way more fruit and vegetables and stuff like that than I used to, and I've lost about 2 stone. Yeah, ish, and it was just something that had to happen. Like, it's almost like once I hit this level, I had to leave that old body behind. And this is happening across the whole collective. This is why you're seeing Dutch people who've eaten bread and dairy for generations suddenly are like, I can't handle it anymore, because somewhere we're getting these downloads, these upgrades. Pluto is plugged itself into a new power system, and helping us understand that power is not only about structures, it's also about the structure within. Yeah. So our internal power structures are changing. We're becoming more archetypal. We're beginning to understand, companies are beginning to understand, I can't just work my employees to death, because they're actually going to have mental health problems and emotional problems. maybe it's not right that we work 5 days a week. Maybe we need to work 3 or 4 days a week, and that job share can be split. Oh, people can actually work from home and the company can still do well. If there's one legacy of COVID, it's that, yeah, in terms of what the structure, being able to work from home and still get paid. Yeah, amazing.
I was even headhunted for a role in London for a huge, big headhunting firm. And I said, you know what? I'm never going to return to London. And they said, oh, it's fine. This person, this partner is okay if you work abroad. And I was like, since when are they ever okay with me working abroad? That has never happened before.
Yeah.
Never, ever. They like, no, we want you in the office and
Yeah.
you know, show your
Yeah.
face. You know, you have to live
Exactly.
in the country, relocate. You know, I've been headhunting people for years, demanding that they, you know, relocate their wife and families to actually be closer to office. And now
Yeah.
it's like, no, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that, because
Yeah.
what's happened is, because Pluto, yeah, has thrown its hand grenade, yeah, via COVID, because really it's got Pluto's fingerprints all over it, by the way. You know, it's just like, boom. So now, because Pluto was the first child to be consumed by Kronos, by Saturn, and he was the last one out, yeah? So they say whenever there's this relationship between Pluto and Saturn, it gets a bit volatile, yeah? Pluto tries to do what? Get his revenge back on his father. So now think of all these, because Capricorn is what? Structures. I remember corporate entities. That's the office, yeah? The office has been what? Deconstructed. You don't need to go into the office anymore. Now you do have, if we think of Goldman Sachs, yeah, not Goldman, but Goldman Sachs, they're trying to buck the trend, yeah? They're saying come into the office, but guess what? They're changing their location. They're moving from London to Birmingham, yeah? So even their construct, even though they want you in the office, the tower is moved, yeah? Think of all of these companies around the world, Angelique, who realize we don't need our office space anymore, yeah? These big structures of steel and glass and, you know, we're the big boys, doesn't mean anything, or big boys or girls, doesn't mean anything if no one's working there. No point paying rent on an empty building. What's happening now is they're like, right, okay, we're going to do more social spaces, yeah? Because Aquarius is about what? Social space, the collective. So companies are ditching their big buildings, and they might be buying some, you know, some office space in, WeWork or whatnot. And now this is what I see happening, is that you're going to have people working from home, and then maybe they might commute into the office on a shift pattern 1 or 2 days of the week, you know, because we still need to mix and exchange ideas. But I think it's going to become more social. We do the Lions work at home, and then we go into the office for a bit of networking, for a bit of fun and stuff like that. So definitely I see things like that changing as well.
So in terms of talking to you now, it feels like we cannot blame the the specific entities that are bringing about these changes. It's like they have been mandated by the universal patterns to actually create all of these things. I was listening yesterday to actually Joni Patry.
Oh yeah.
And Joni was talking about the day that the insurrection happened, like the first time, the last time it happened was actually so many years ago, and then something else happened, but she predicted that something would happen, and then the insurrection happened on that date. I mean,
so did I.
Actually,
so did I. Yeah. And I was even more specific. I said, watch out. I said, January 1st, Pluto is going to go into the second house of the United States, and it's conjunct the star, which is known as the flying gripe, which is the star of war. Yeah. So I said, look, the star of war is flying in, and it's going to affect something significant in the States. And then 5 days later, kaboom. Yeah. So that insurrection did happen. Yeah. It was real. Anyone saying it's not real that's BS. Sorry, it's just BS. It's real. Yeah. Because I predicted it. I could see it. I knew that something significant like that would happen. But how people perceive it, that's another thing.
How it's reported, that's another thing. And how did it come about? That's another thing. So I tend to look at it from different layers, like who are the real parties behind it? You know, what was the agenda of showing it? You know, so to me,
But it was live. It was live. It was seen by the world. You know,
it was seen by the world because there was an agenda. There's a lot of things that are not being seen by the world.
Oh yeah, of course.
There's a lot of things that are not being seen by the world. And this is where we as a collective have a responsibility to almost diversify and outsource our truth seeking or whatever we want to know, the real agenda, to actually not just be, you know, watching the regular, let's say, mainstream media news, I would say.
Of course. I mean, there's stuff like that, but we also have a responsibility as well not to deny the obvious. Yeah. That's also part of being able to accept truth, is also to be able to accept the obvious. So there were speeches, yeah, there were rallies, and there was incitement, and there was an insurrection. There are people that are dead. Let's not insult the dead by trying to say it wasn't.
I'm not saying it didn't happen, Hogarth. I'm just saying that who made it happen, what was the agenda of it happening, we don't know. I mean, we weren't the organizers. We weren't powerful enough to organize this.
We will find out
absolutely
who the organizers are. And this is what I'm saying, there is a lot of everything is a conflagration at the moment of truth and untruth. And that's also part of the point, by the way. It's also part of the point, because I understand these planets. I understand how they work. Every planet manifests its shadow and its light simultaneously, and people are on a spectrum. There are some people that are really using the darkest parts of Pluto to subvert, plutocracy, So we need to examine plutocracies and what their agenda is. And then we need to look at the light side of it, the saintly side of it, the Gaia side of it, the purification side of it, because ultimately we must all save the earth, because if we don't, we won't have anywhere to live. And I tell you this, Elon Musk has not yet figured out a way to shrink 7 billion people into a capsule and take them to Mars, as if that's a place anyone will want to live, really. when we examine that, so really what I want everyone to understand, this is about us regenerating the power of the earth. We need to save Gaia. Gaia is going through an energy transition, and she needs humanity to come along for the ride. If we don't, we will not be here anymore. 30 years from now, we're gone, because it's Pluto, transform or die. So really we need to look at inner truth. We need to take what we see with a pinch of salt. This is true, but the most important thing to change is ourselves, our attitudes, and it's happening already. People more now. For me, vegan doesn't really work for me. It doesn't work. Like, I've tried vegan food and stuff and the alternatives and stuff, and it gums up my system. It doesn't actually work for me. I'm better off actually more fruit and veg with a bit of meat and stuff like that. But I tend to buy better quality now, definitely. And it's about raising our vibration. And it's not about ignoring whatever's bad in the world, but we can't be too emotionally invested in these things, good news or bad news, because what happens is we start to activate that shadow side of Pluto, and then we get pulled into the underworld. And what do we have? Persephone moments, So we want to leave that behind, we want to be in the summer, above ground, enjoy Persephone in the spring and the summer, in the collective unconscious, so to speak, if we were to put it that way.
Are you able to say anything about the monetary markets? Because, you know, all the economists are talking about an inevitable big crash, and devaluation, which is already happening. A lot of different indicators have shown super inflation for food, for certain commodities. I've been already hearing from friends who are in, let's say, certain industries that they can't get hold of certain, let's say, supplies because of, you know, apart from logistics and certain companies going bankrupt, it's just there's so
Mm,
much inflation going on that suddenly
wow.
companies are being they have to they have to wait until they can actually, you know, create certain materials and certain building materials, for instance. So is there something that you could see in this in what's going on for the next year or the next so many years of how we can be prepared? Because as
It
you said, you know, it's not the millionaires that consult astrologers, it's the billionaires.
yes, yes. I mean, there is that. It's in a way, it's what's happening. Like, and this is why I focus on Pluto, because really, it's this root and branch transformation, and many of the changes are actually inescapable in many ways.
Yeah.
But it's so much of it is to do because basically in the West, if we think of since the Industrial Revolution, yeah, it's been about matter. Yeah, it's been about who's in power, who's in control, what is made, what's not made, fossil fuels, etc., and stuff like that. We're now going into the age of energy. So it's like currency is a part of that, but it's more about where is your energy. Like, so for example, so one of the things here in terms of like practical solutions, yeah, so one of the questions was, what practical solutions can people perform to become more empowered? Yeah, so one of the solutions here I'll put here, build vehicles that can be used as navigation tools for the future. And what I mean by vehicles imagine, let's talk side hustle. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be a financial vehicle where one, like you said, where you begin to explore Bitcoin and various different kind of things like that. But again, it's an exploration. We can't all have our eggs in one basket. We also need to look as well at how our homes are powered, for example. Because say like it all goes kaboom and we all go off the grid, yeah? Then what? You know, without any electricity, like if you think about it, none of it works. There is a significant time, which I think is in, let me just do on my transits, where I can say there's going to be really, truly a big shift even more, and it will be when planet Uranus goes into sidereal Taurus. I think it's 2025. Let me just make sure yearly. Let's just check here. There we
And
go.
Uranus is
Oh, oh,
complete, you know, change and innovation.
absolutely. Let's just put here. Let's look here. Or let's do, and I'm going to do monthly. You just move forward. I'll be able to get it for you when it actually moves in. Ah, there we are. Let's go back. Where is it? 1 second, one forward. And let's do it weekly. Just move it back by a few weeks. Right. So basically, and let's just do daily. I can give you the day. Aha. Planet Uranus will move into sidereal Taurus on the 2nd of June, 2024. Yeah. Coming up to the next USA elections. In 2024, there is going to be a grand solar eclipse that goes from one side of America to another. Again, the last time that happened was in 2017, yeah, when Trump was newly elected, yeah, showed what? Big changes, yeah, massive changes were going to come. you know, I wish I was doing more astrology back then, but I mean, well, I already knew, but I was like, this isn't good. Yeah. So isn't that interesting? So there will be some significant seismic events, but what we need to understand is this: Bitcoin and stuff like that, of course, only works when there's what? Power, electricity. Yeah. It's electronic money. So we need to look at our power systems, how we're generating electricity, because look what happened in Texas. Yeah. Remember back in Texas a few months ago, they tried to spin it, but we know that power cut was real. Yeah. And why? Because all the fossil fuel stuff, it seized up. They didn't invest in that. So it's all about renewables. It's all about, just like how, you know, how we're talking about how our own bodies, like how your body can no longer tolerate, you know, junk food or whatever. It's the same for Gaia. It's the same for Earth. She can't deal with the junk food anymore. So she's what? Shedding it. So what we need to do is much more about our energy, getting ourselves to a lighter place and more optimistic place, envisioning, oh, my door's just gone, a brighter future, and working towards it. I just need to answer the door, and then obviously other bits. 1 minute. So sorry.
So it's hard for me to actually read this while I'm talking. Are there any questions? We're gonna try and wrap it up. I mean, thank you for being here for so long. I think when I look at the statistics of YouTube, the videos that I post, people actually do watch it, like the whole thing. So, and it is of course because I do ask difficult questions. I am quite challenging because we want the real answers, and we want them to actually thrive and not to, you know, throw our head in the sand and just say, oh my God, I give up. So anybody has questions, please type it in and we'll give it to Hogarth. There might be things that I've overlooked. If you see the chat, you can type in the chat. Those of you who are watching the Facebook Live, I cannot read your chats. I'm sorry, you would have to jump onto the Zoom. Otherwise, you know, I cannot read your comments as well until later. Yes, so I've learned a lot today, and much more feeling empowered around what's going on. Less maybe feeling that things are happening to us, as we say. Is obsidians useful? Is that a crystal or something, Carolina? I don't know. I don't know what is obsidiana, a crystal. I'm not sure. Hogarth would know about that. Hogarth knows a lot of things, but I'm not sure he knows about crystals. I have another friend, Runa, who studies crystal healing. So I'm happy for him to maybe have a chat with us about crystals. Anyways, Hogarth, you know, I always recommend you to people when they are stuck in life in terms of what am I going to do with my life? What is my talent? You know, I want to change jobs. I want to change careers. There are many, many ways that people can work with you. Your website is the archetypalblueprint.com, right?
Yes, yes.
And on YouTube, how do they find you? Is that Hogarth Brown or Archetypal Blueprint as well?
They can type in Hogarth Brown, but my channel's called Hogarth's Global Astrology.
Hogarth.
So you can look there, and I've actually just uploaded a video where I've done the sun signs and the ascendants for everyone, so they can see the planetary influences that are affecting their life now in regards to Saturn and Jupiter. So they can look there and see all these different kind of themes. And sort of just to round up, we are truly in the age of energy. So companies now need to look at the energetic blueprint of their company, and it needs to be of a high vibration in the sense of trying to be at the highest ethical standards that they can be realistically. Yeah, because if we all do this, then it means all the companies can lift up. Oh, someone's saying, could we write it down? I could write it on.
I'm gonna type it in. Hogarth Global Astrology.
Yeah.
I'll put it, if I upload the video, I will put a link. Normally, if you go to Conscious World Club and you see all the other interviews with Hogarth, you will also see how to find him. Yeah.
Brilliant. And
So,
I'll upload this. I'll upload this as well to my channel as well when it's ready for there. So although yes, it was intense, wasn't it? But it's just intense times, isn't it? It's just intense times. There's a lot of cra going on. And but this is the purge, so it's going to be all the dirt and filth first, then we'll have to look at the rat on the bed and just be like, okay, and then what are we going to do? Then it will be truly the cleanup, but really it's about energy, and it's about Gaia, and it's about essentially protecting her, because so we can avoid our Persephone moment. Yeah, we've got to avoid that. Yeah, but we also need to understand Persephone, when we own our shadow and when we own those things, Persephone also became the queen of the underworld. We need to remember that too. So it shows that there is, when we can go through and process that darkness, we come out more powerful. Yeah,
completely,
so I want that to be my closing statement.
Just the last question. What is this thing about the US and China? Because, you know, I'm hearing a lot of stuff around, you know, if you listen to the conspiracy channels, it's like, you know, China bought the US, blah, blah, blah. Also, you know, China is doing something with money right now. And I don't know what to believe anymore. So maybe what is astrology showing us about China and specifically in relationship to the US?
It's really interesting. In the sense of China owning a lot of the USA debt, this is true, and this has been going on for the last 30 years or so. Yeah, and there's that element. China's already cashless. Yeah, so you could say they're already in the age of Aquarius already. Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, there's shadow there as well. Yeah, because of course, once things are cashless, you can control things electronically. Yeah,
and they are, and they absolutely are controlling. Yeah.
Oh yes.
And banning things as well.
Yeah.
That could give power back to people.
Absolutely, because it goes both ways. Because the age of Aquarius will be an electronic age, but it also means if they're doing the dark side of Pluto, the plutocracy, then it can be controlled. The money can be controlled. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even as well, what if global governments actually get into Bitcoin and blockchain and actually start to take over those systems of themselves? Yeah. Do you see it? It's how, and that's why I say really this is about vibration. We all need to kind of like go up so we're not prone to that corruption. But anyway, I'm going to show you my little thing here, and then we can take a little look. Now, this is like my little blue Peter moment here. Now, my viewers will know I've always got some little, come on. Trying to get this little thing on here where the trait, there we are. So it's very simple, yeah, old school. So if we look here, these are the signs of the zodiac with their names and with their dates. And what we're going to look at, we're just going to look at the ascendants of America and China. Yeah. So if we look at China, for example, China has a Capricorn ascendant. Yeah, the ascendant is Capricorn. I was rummaging around trying to find my main thingy-bob of China, and I couldn't find it. But yes, so the China Republic on the 1st of October 1949 at 3:15 p.m. was the birth, yeah, the official birth of the Republic. So we can be confident that these times are accurate. So we look here with my wheel here. See here, I've got these two lines, yeah, because the ascendant is always the first house. So if we move this around to Capricorn, yeah, which is also called Maraka in Vedic astrology, we see here, this becomes the first house. And then we can see where Saturn and Jupiter are. I'm going to make sure that you can see my, bring this closer. Like, can you see that? 1 second.
We can see, yeah, but we can't see it in detail, but I think it's okay.
Let's have a look. Let me just see if I can bring this closer, because this is really important. 1 minute. Let's bring this here. There we are. This is a lot closer. All right. So we look here. This now becomes the first house. Yeah. So China has got Saturn in its first house. Yeah. By transit. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So the ruler is the ruler of the chart is in the first house. Whenever this happens, it gives a great deal of sense of purpose and confidence. Yeah. So China's feeling very confident in its purpose right now and extremely determined. Yeah. Because the chart ruler is in the first house. Yeah. Giving a lot of power. Yeah. Let's also remember as well, Capricorn is the sign of what? Government. The government is feeling very powerful right now in China. Yeah. Because the chart ruler is in its own house, yeah? So there's that element there. Then we need to see where Saturn looks, yeah? So if this is the first house, Saturn looks 3 places, 7 places, and 10 places from himself, yeah? So Saturn is here. 1, 2, 3. Saturn's looking at the third house. What's the third house? It's all about communications, yeah? Communications, travel, information, distribution systems as well, yeah? So China is reviewing its communication systems, yeah? And if we look with the citizens and stuff like that as well, if we think of social media, yeah, all the rules and stuff that are changing around that, because the third house is also social media. So is the 11th house, yeah? And so there's that. And then when we look across here, we see that Saturn is looking at China's 7th house. And the 7th house is anyone that's not us. Yeah, so it deals with the outside world in mundane astrology. China's changing its attitude to the outside world and maybe becoming a bit more strict. Yeah, because what? Saturn is the planet of what? Discipline, control. Yeah. So it means that there is this element here where there is an energy of wanting to control the outside world a bit more. Yeah, makes sense. Then when we look, where else is Saturn is looking? Saturn's looking at the 10th house for China. And the 10th house is public standing, yeah? The global stage. China is reevaluating its position on the global stage. And it's also getting what I call double drishti, yeah? Because this is drishti. It's also getting this aspect from Jupiter, which is expanding that, yeah? So China is expanding its role on the global stage.
They're doing something with with that will actually diminish the power of the American monetary system. They're doing something, you know, I don't understand the details of it, but it's been really, it will actually diminish the American dollar or the systems that America uses to actually hold a lot of countries, I wouldn't say hostage, but a lot of countries had to use America's monetary system to do international transactions. And now China is coming in and taking a big part of it. I've learned. Yeah.
Well, the astrology here would back that up, because this is the global stage. And you've got Jupiter here. Jupiter is also the planet of money, but look where Jupiter is positioned. It's in the 2nd house at the moment in China's chart. The 2nd house deals with money, resources, finances, yeah? So China's coming up with something new in regards to finance on the global stage. Yeah. And then when we look where else Jupiter is looking, Jupiter is looking at China's 6th house, and that deals with commutes, yeah, daily routines. It deals with litigation, but it also deals with repetitive tasks. It deals with food, diet, yeah. So there's this element there where basically China is looking at its daily routines of its daily citizens right now and reevaluating those things, yeah. And then when we also look here, China is looking at the Jupiter is looking at China's 8th house, which is what? Other people's money, the house of sex, death, and rock and roll. Transformations around money. Yeah, so we can see, you see how simple this system is? And it backs up what you're saying, yeah? Now we can look what's going on with the United States. There we are. So the United States has a Sagittarius ascendant. So all we need to do is go backwards like this, yeah? So when we look at the United States, we see that the 1st house is run by Sagittarius. And then when we look here, Saturn, along with Pluto, is in the 2nd house. America is having this kind of, almost kind of like this kind of crisis or restriction happening around cash flow, yeah? Because remember, Saturn tends to restrict where it is, and Jupiter expands. For China, they've got Jupiter in the 2nd house, expanding finance in some way. In America, it's the opposite. There's this kind of contraction, yeah, of the finances, or the government is trying to stimulate the finances of the country in some way. And if you think, look, Joe Biden is coming up with what? His stimulation package to try and resuscitate the American economy, yeah? And it also means here, Saturn is looking at the 4th house of the United States chart. So it's restrictions in the homeland, yeah? There's this element, or trying to be more disciplined in the homeland, yeah, in some way. And again, that can deal with what? Home, real estate as well. So literally trying to rebuild the home. America's trying to rebuild itself. And then when we look here as well, we see Saturn is looking at America's 8th house. So they're having to deal with the what? The deep and dark sides of what's going on in the country, yeah? There's a lot of scorpionic energy going on right now. And remember as well, Scorpio can also deal with conspiracy theories, yeah? So there's a lot going on in terms of America, in terms of what is true, what's not true, yeah? And then when we look here, we see Saturn is looking at America's 11th house, which is ruled by Libra. And the 11th house deals with great gains, but it also deals with social networks and foreign lands, foreign entities as well. If you look, and look, there's double drishti here. Jupiter is also expanding on that topic as well. What is all the debate about? Foreign influence in America, right?
It's a little bit hypocritical because, you know, America has always been influencing in many other countries. And then as soon as another country, because of their economic prowess or stars, suddenly appears as, you know, another economic power, of course, they're going to, you know, blame this other power. And I have a lot of conversation with my brother about this because he's actually in Hong Kong. And, you know, it's really very interesting, us being born in the West, to go to China and to see, for instance, the Western press, you know, depicting China in a certain way, and then to hear on the Chinese press how they're depicting the West, and then to sit in the middle and to say, what the heck is going on? It's all propaganda. It's all propaganda from either side. So, you know, what I think we should do is, like, you know, consult astrology, understand there's a reason. It's like, it's almost as you say, we are like the puppets of the planets, it seems. Do we really have free will? You know, do the governments have free will, or are they actually the puppets of the planets or the planetary energies that are, you know, being expressed through what we see in this so-called reality?
Yes, I mean, if there's one truth in astrology that I would like to leave people with, There is free will. However, it must be consciously developed and grasped. If we just live our life automatically, you're not free. Yeah, the planets have full reign. Yeah, because they're like, aha, this person's not awake. Yeah, because the Sanskrit name for planet is graha, and it means to grip. So anyone that is unconscious will be under the grip of the planets. And this is why you see the diversity that we see here on Earth, because people that are too in their egos will be gripped by the planets. And think of all those people in politics that are just self-serving, not all of them, but many. Yeah. And especially when it comes to what? Power.
Yeah.
It's all about what? Power. Pluto. So are they going to do positive transformational power, or do they want that power for themselves? And this is what this question is right now, because Pluto is in Capricorn. So you see, it all underpins everything. But just finally, on the last point, Jupiter is in America's third house. That's the media. Yeah. And it's actually going to be right on top of the moon of America. Yeah, at some point. I think it's in June or something like that. May, around about it soon, actually, not too long. When it hits 8 degrees. So there is going to be some kind of illumination around communications, yeah, and media and stuff like that in America. Yeah, so let's watch out, see what happens. But also as well, if we look here, Jupiter is looking at America's 7th house, which again means the outside world. So America is looking to reach out to the outside world. It wants to expand. Wherever Jupiter looks, it expands. What did Biden do? Rejoined the Paris Accord, yeah, with the world on what? Climate change, yeah. And then if we look here as well, Jupiter is looking at America's 9th house, which deals with beliefs, politics, philosophy, law. It's going to be looking to change its laws very soon, yeah? It's going to be looking to change its laws in regard to its own nation, because there's something wrong with the laws. And then finally, it's looking at the 11th house, again, like I said before, which is double drishti. And there's a reassessment of its distribution systems, and also as well how it interacts with foreign entities and bodies. So there you go.
Whew. So let us focus on what we can control, which is our own inner work, because as you said, when we do our inner work, there's less chance of us projecting our shadow stuff onto, let's say, governments or entities or the news. We basically, if we all do our inner part, we can be part of the global shift, and we can we can allow, Persephone to be the king of the queen of the underworld, birthing babies that are not just innocent, don't know how to deal with trauma, but actually babies that are really like super god, supernatural, that know how to deal with dark and light and polarity and duality. Yeah. So I would say to all of you, those listening of you, a lot of our people have already gotten to know you, and but I would say I go to Hogarth when I have to make a big decision, because I always say, hey, can you look at the transits for me? Can you look at how I am as a person being gripped by the planets, or how I can help the planets evolve? So it's absolutely wonderful, his work. He and I might not always agree, for instance, about the insurrection, but I'll send you some information, Hogarth, also about this whole climate change thing. I have information around that from people who are more into economy and how these SDRs actually work, because that is all what it's about. Yeah. So I've watched some news about what is going on in reality or behind the scenes, and I hope it's not true, but I happen to.
There is a lot going on. There is because what's happening is that the power structures are changing, and we're in the very messy phase of it right now. Yes. But I would say anyone that has a consultation, particularly if they do Vedic astrology, what actually happens is it actually frees you up from the grip of the planets. So we can all win we can all win our freedom. And then what actually happens is we start to manifest the light aspects of the planets. Because remember, even Pluto, as dark as he is, has tremendous gifts. And when we master the Pluto, no one can fool us. Everything becomes transparent. It gives you, Pluto is X-Man powers. X-Men powers. That's the reward. So if we look at that, it's not all fated. Free will is still relevant, but we must exercise it consciously and take everything with a pinch of salt and go within, find that light to transform, and then we'll all be good. And there we are. Wow, we went for 2 hours.
My last testimonial is I asked my partner when we just met to actually do a consultation with me in Hogarth, because it was very important to me that I go into a relationship with eyes wide open. And my partner gave Hogarth his dates, and Hogarth, looking back into my partner's life, gave him some dates that were literally, I would say, groundbreaking, once in a lifetime type of moments. Like Hogarth would say, on this date, this and this is going to happen or has happened. And my partner would look at me and say, oh my God, then this and this happened, which changed my whole life. Like, and remember, we recorded it. When we shared it with you, your jaw was dropping on the floor. Like, you were even like, oh my God, how accurate is Vedic astrology? So, the thing is, there is a beautiful scenario happening beneath all the reality that we're facing, which is quite challenging. There's still a higher agenda. There's still a role for us to play.
Absolutely.
And, be a billionaire and consult Hogarth and thank me later. And Hogarth and I are going to do much more fun stuff if we can find time in his diary. But I want to thank you, Hogarth, so much. And I want to thank you for sitting here and listening to all of this. I hope that you feel more empowered. I hope that you feel less gripped by the heaviness of the global dark night of the soul, and that you know what you can do. And and let's hope that you also can tell me later how much you enjoyed your consultation with Hogarth. And yes, you'll hear more of us. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I look forward to the next one. Have a great day.
Yes.
I'm going to have some lunch now. I'm not sure what I'm going to eat yet, but I'll have some lunch. And and I will see you again. Great as always, Angelique. And thank you so much for inviting me to talk here on your channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I really needed to hear this, and it was really healing on many levels. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Lots of love. Lots of love, everybody.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.